Japan in Danger. Learn English through Story Level 3 Graded Reader. Hi, and welcome to English with Allia. Are you learning English great? Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started. Japan faces a serious problem today. This problem is not about fighting wars or natural disasters like earthquakes. It is about the number of people living in the country. Japan has fewer people now than it did before. This situation is sometimes called a population collapse. It is a very big challenge for the nation. The main reason for this problem is the number of babies born each year. Very few babies are being born in Japan right now. The number of births is lower than ever recorded. Japan's leaders are very concerned. They say this low number of births is the greatest crisis the country faces. If this situation does not change, it could create huge difficulties in the future. A Japanese society might find it hard to continue as normal. The economy, which includes jobs and money, could also face serious trouble and might stop growing. The total number of people living in Japan is getting smaller every year. This decrease has been happening for over 10 years in a row. Many more people die each year than babies are born. For every one baby born today, more than 2 people die. This difference makes the total population go down fast. Each new group of young people is smaller than the group before them. This book will explain this population problem. We will look at the reasons why fewer babies are being born in Japan. We will also study the effects of having fewer people. What does a smaller population mean for everyday life, for work, and for Japan's place in the world? Learning about Japan's situation is also important for other countries. Many nations, including those in Europe and America, are seeing their birth rates go down too. They might face similar problems later. What is happening in Japan today could show us what the future might look like for other parts of the world. It is an important issue for everyone to understand. Fewer people, more old people. For example, Japan has 2 big problems happening at the same time. First, families are having fewer children. Second, people are living longer and getting older. This means the total number of people in Japan is going down, but the number of old people is going up. For example, the number of people aged 75 years or older recently passed 20 million for the first time. This group grew by over 700,000 people in just 1 year. But in the same year, the total population of Japan dropped by more than 800,000 people. So, young people and working-age people are becoming a smaller part of the population. Old people, or retirees, are becoming a much larger part. Experts think that by the year 2050, almost 36% of people in Japan will be 65 years or older. This change creates a big challenge. There are fewer younger workers to support the growing number of older people who need help. We can look at this using the dependency ratio. This ratio shows how many working people there are for each retired person. In 1980, there were about 7 workers for every retiree. By 2020, there were only about 2 workers for every retiree. The future looks even harder. By 2050, there might be only 1 worker for each retiree. This situation causes serious problems. It makes it difficult to pay for pensions, which is the money people receive when they stop work. It also puts pressure on healthcare services, because older people often need more medical care. Another big problem is finding enough workers for jobs. When many people retire, there are not enough young people to take their places. Studies show Japan could be short of 11 million workers by the year 2040. The total number of people in Japan will continue to shrink. Some studies predict the population will fall below 100 million people by 2056, or maybe even sooner. By the beginning of the 22nd century, Japan's population might be only 63 million people. That is about half of what it is now, and about 40% of those people could be 65 or older. One thing that helps a little is immigration. This means people moving to Japan from other countries. In 2023, there were about 3.2 million foreign people living in Japan. This is about 2.6% of the total population. This number is growing. Many immigrants come from countries like China, Vietnam, the Philippines, and Brazil to work or study. More immigrants can provide more workers. However, immigration alone cannot solve Japan's big population problems. After the Second World War finished, many babies were born in Japan. This was a time called a baby boom. Families were growing quickly. But this time of many babies did not continue for a long time. Very soon in the 1950s, the number of babies born started to fall quickly. The change was very dramatic. Why did the number of babies go down so fast? The government in Japan, with influence from the American leaders who were there after the war, wanted fewer babies. They were worried about the future. Japan's country and economy were badly damaged from the war. Leaders thought that if the population grew too fast, there might not be enough food for everyone. They also worried about finding enough homes and jobs for all the people. Between 1945 and 1950, the number of people in Japan grew by 11 million. This fast growth seemed like a big problem for a country trying to rebuild. The American leaders, known as the Supreme Command of the Allied powers, also believed that a fast-growing population could cause social problems and unrest. So the government decided to act. They started policies and programs to encourage people to have smaller families. Japan's National Institute of Public Health played an important part. It helped teach people about birth control. Birth control means using methods to stop getting pregnant. Japan also became one of the first countries in the world to make abortion legal. An abortion is when a pregnancy is ended early so a baby is not born. Many people used these new options. In 1955 alone, there were over 1 million abortions. These government plans worked very effectively. The change happened very quickly, much faster than in many other countries. The number of babies born each year went down a lot. In just about 10 years, families were having around 2 children on average. This number is usually enough to keep the total population about the same size from one generation to the next. Even with fewer babies being born, the total number of people in Japan kept growing for many years after this period. This might seem strange, but it happened because people were living much longer lives than before. Better healthcare and food meant people's age expectancy increased quickly. So while the birth rate went down, the population still went up for a while because fewer people were dying young and people lived longer overall. This early success in controlling population growth seemed good at the time. Busy cities, busy workers. After 1973, the number of babies born in Japan started to fall again. This time it was not because of government plans. It happened because Japan was changing quickly. More and more people left the farms in the countryside. They moved to big cities to find jobs and new factories. This big change meant Japan had more industries and more people lived in cities. Life was very different in the city compared to the countryside. On farms, having many children was helpful, but in cities it was harder to raise a big family. City life brought new problems for families. Everything cost more money in the cities, like housing and food. Life moved very fast. People felt busy all the time. In smaller towns or villages, neighbors often helped each other. In big cities, there was less community support for families raising children. Because of these reasons, it became more difficult for people to decide to have children. You can see this difference in the number of babies born. Big cities like Tokyo have very low birth rates. Tokyo is a huge city with many people living close together. In 2023, the birth rate there was only about 1.08 babies per woman. Other large city areas also have birth rates lower than the average for the whole country. This is a big issue because most Japanese people, about 92%, live in cities. In the countryside areas, where there are fewer people and life is slower, birth rates are a little higher. Places like Kagoshima and Miyazaki have birth rates around 1.6 babies per woman. This is still lower than the 2.1 needed to keep the population the same, but it is better than in the big cities. Another important reason for fewer babies is Japan's famous work culture. Many Japanese people work very hard and for very long hours. This culture of hard work helped Japan grow after the war, but it leaves people with very little free time or energy. It is hard to think about starting a family when you are always tired from work. When more women started working outside the home from the 1980s, they also faced this problem of having very little time. Money problems, family problems. Having children costs a lot of money in Japan. It is especially expensive in big cities. Raising a child until they finish college can cost a very large amount of money. For many people, it is hard to pay this much. This is because pay has not increased much in Japan for the last 30 years. This time is sometimes called Japan's lost decades. During this time, young people found it very difficult to get good jobs. This period was like an employment ice age. Many companies did not want to hire new, full-time workers to save money. So many young people could only find temporary jobs or part-time jobs. These workers are often called irregular workers. Today, about 40% of all workers in Japan have these kinds of jobs. Irregular workers do not have secure jobs. They also earn much less money. Sometimes, two irregular workers together earn only as much money as people who get help from the government. With low pay and jobs that are not secure, it is very hard for people to think about starting a family. They feel they cannot afford to have children. These money problems created new social trends in Japan. It is hard to start a family without a good income. At the same time, many Japanese women now choose to focus on their career. They may prefer to work and have the freedom that a job gives. Women are also having children later. The average woman in Japan now has her first child when she is about 31 years old. Because of these money problems and changing ideas about life, fewer people are getting married. People are getting married much later in life, or they decide not to marry at all. The number of marriages is falling quickly. Last year, the number of marriages fell below 500,000. This was the first time this happened since 1945. More people are staying single. In the year 2020, almost 30% of men aged 50 had never married. For women aged 50, it was almost 20%. This trend looks like it will continue. Young people today also have different ideas about marriage. Japan's problem with fewer people creates big money problems for the country. The slow economy over the last 30 years, sometimes called the lost decades, happened partly because of the population changes. When there are fewer workers, the country cannot make as many things. Fewer workers also means fewer people earning money and spending money. This slows down the economy. Because the number of workers will probably keep going down for many more years, some people worry that Japan's economy might not grow much for a very long time. They sometimes talk about a lost century. If the economy does not grow, the quality of life for people in Japan could get worse. People might not have as much money or as many opportunities as before. It also has to pay for their health care. As the number of old people goes up and the number of young workers goes down, it becomes harder to pay for everything. The government already has a very big problem with debt. Japan's government owes more money compared to the size of its economy than any other country in the world. The total debt is huge, worth over $9 trillion. For now, this massive debt is manageable. This is because interest rates in Japan are very low. The Bank of Japan, the country's central bank, has kept interest rates near zero to try and help the economy grow. This means the government does not have to pay much interest on the money it has borrowed. However, this situation might change in the future. If interest rates go up, the government would have to spend much more money just paying interest on its debt. This could lead to serious problems like high inflation, where prices for everything go up quickly. It could even cause a debt crisis, where the government cannot pay back the money it owes. This leaves the government with very difficult choices. To pay for the costs of an aging population and manage its debt, it might need to cut spending. This could mean less money for pensions or health care for old people. The other choice is to increase taxes. This would mean working people have less money. Neither choice is easy and both would affect people's lives in Japan. Japan's place in the world. Japan's population problem changes its place in the world. When a country has fewer people, it usually becomes less strong internationally. Japan is a big economy, but with fewer workers it makes fewer products. This means it sells less to other countries. This also affects its military. This can make it weaker if relationships with selling countries become difficult. Japan also has difficult relationships with some neighbors. China and North Korea are close by and relations are sometimes tense. A smaller population and economy might make Japan feel less secure next to these countries. Japan has important friends like South Korea and Taiwan. They are also allies of the United States. But these countries have population problems too. South Korea and Taiwan have even lower birth rates than Japan. This means Japan's friends are also facing similar challenges of getting smaller and older. They might not be strong partners in the future. Because of these problems, Japan needs help for its security. It depends a lot on the United States for military protection. The United States has soldiers and bases in Japan and promises to help defend the country. This relationship with America is very important for Japan's safety. But this close relationship with the United States can also bring risks. Some countries, like China, may not like the strong American presence near them. Japan is caught in the middle. It needs America for protection, but being too close to America could increase tensions with China. Japan's shrinking population makes it harder to manage these difficult international relationships and keep its strong place in the world. What can Japan do now? Japan is looking for answers to its population problems. Finding good solutions is difficult. There are no simple ways to fix the situation quickly. One possible solution is more immigration. This means inviting people from other countries to live and work in Japan. The government is making rules simpler for foreign workers. In 2018, a law aimed to bring workers for jobs like building, food services, and nursing. These workers could get visas and maybe stay permanently after 5 years. The current Prime Minister, Fumio Kishida, made more changes in 2023. Now, foreign workers in many jobs can stay in Japan forever with their families. Also, people with special skills, like researchers or business owners, might become permanent residents after just 1 year. Many Japanese people support immigration, but carefully. They worry about too many people coming at once and want new people to fit into Japanese life. Immigration helps get more workers, but it does not solve the low number of babies being born. Japan is also trying to make it easier for people to have children. These are called pronatalist policies. The government gives money to help families. This includes tax help and cheaper child care. If raising children is less expensive, maybe more people will start families. The government is spending more money on these programs now and plans to continue for the next 3 years. However, these programs are very expensive. The Japanese government already has a lot of debt. Also, money help might not change everyone's mind. It could help families who want children but worry about money. It might not help people who choose not to have children for other reasons. New technology is another hope. Robots and artificial intelligence, or AI, might help the economy. If technology helps each worker produce more goods and services, the economy might stay strong even with fewer workers. Robots could be useful in hospitals and care homes, where Japan needs many workers. Technology can increase productivity inside Japan. But technology does not fix everything. It cannot solve problems like a smaller military or Japan's position in the world. It might not help Japan sell goods to other countries as much as before. Japan's future looks very different and uncertain. The country is trying different solutions, but the challenges are huge. What do you think is the best way for Japan to handle this big challenge? Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like. Write your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second. And it really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.